Anyway, for today's class, you're going to need a pillow of some sort, a pair of matching yoga blocks, and a yoga belt. If you don't have a proper yoga belt, you might want to get yourself a scarf or maybe a bathrobe tie, a nice long length of some sort, so that we can have that toy available. We're going to start standing up. Palms are forward for a great big shoulder shrug. Inhaling up. And exhale back and down. Keep your palms forward. Repeat. Great big shoulder shrugs, great big yawns. Inhaling up. And exhale back and down. One more time. Great big shoulder shrug, great big yawn. Inhaling up. And exhale back and down. And then take your arms up and overhead. Interlace your fingers. Turn your palms up towards the sky. And begin to shift your weight from side to side. So as you shift your weight from side to side, you'll push up through the heel of one hand. And then shift your weight to the other side. Push up through the heel of the other hand. So I'm pushing up through the heel of one hand. And as I do this, I'm shifting side, putting all weight on the heel of one foot. And then the other. Maybe even picking up a heel. Shifting side to side, working up a good yawn or two. Feeling that wrist stretch. Those side ribs begin to flare. Maybe a little hip thing. Just getting acquainted with how the body feels today. And then you're going to pick a side. And I know the right left thing can be a little bit confusing. So just pick a side. It doesn't matter which. And whichever foot has less weight in it, you can take that foot, turn the toes backwards, and get a stretch on the top side of the foot. Both knees are unlocked. Pressing up through the heel of one hand and pressing down through the top side of one foot. And then let's switch and do the other side. Again, for balance sake, keep your knees unlocked. Keep breathing. And feel that lovely stretch. Now you have had arms overhead for a little bit of time here, and they may begin to tingle on you. This is a stress position. Come to center, and then put a bend in your elbows, bringing your hands behind your head. Palms are turned up towards the sky or towards the back of your head. It is a little easier with your palms towards the back of your head. Knees are unlocked, shoulders drop down, head is on straight. Front ribs and belly pull in, and your knees are unlocked. Inhale. And as you exhale, let those arms drop and swing. Oh, feel the blood flow back in to those arms. Let those swings get a little bit bigger. We're going to step a little closer to the screen here. And then start crossing the right arm on top. Crossing that right arm on top. Give yourself a big hug. Now, if your elbows crossed, bonus. You can work your hands as far around your back as they're willing to go today. Fingers are below your armpits, giving yourself a great big hug. And as you exhale, let those shoulders melt down away from your ears. You can tick-tock your head side to side, wiggle your jaw, even yawn. Feel that stretch between the shoulder blades. And as you tick-tock your head side to side, maybe feel a little bit of stretch in your neck. Now, if your arms did not cross, if your elbows did not pass one another, you're just going to take that bottom hand to pull that right elbow further across your chest. So this is one modification here. But if your elbows did cross, well, then you could take that bottom arm, flip it up. Notice how it catches that top elbow. And then double cross your arms. Shoulders are down away from your ears. Elbows pressing forward, waistline pulling back. Everybody's breathing. Elbows forward, waistline back. Shoulders down away from your ears. You could tick-tock your head side to side. And maybe even yawn. And then release. All right, let them swing. We're going to do the other arm. Crossing that left arm on top. Give yourself a great big hug. Shoulders down away from your ears, fingers below your armpits. Wrap up nice and tight. And breathe. Try getting that breath to spread those back ribs. Again, modify. If your elbows don't cross, use that bottom hand to pull that top elbow further across your chest. Or if they do cross, you might be able to double cross and catch hold. Elbows pressing forward, waistline pulling back. We're going to repeat this one in a moment. I'll give you another modification. And then release. So we're going to repeat this. If you do have that belt available, go ahead and grab it. And drape that over your right shoulder. You're going to cross that right arm on top. Again, modification number one was to just use that bottom hand to pull the elbow further across your chest. Or you can take that bottom elbow, cross it underneath, and maybe wrap your arms up. Whenever you maybe got your elbows crossed, you weren't quite able to catch hold of your hands. Well, this is where you could use that belt to help you span the gap. Eventually, perhaps bringing your hands together. Knees are bent, elbows pressing forward, waistline pulling back. Leaning forward, you'll feel gravity pull those elbows away from your chest. You get a little bit more stretch between the shoulder blades. Now, front ribs and belly are pulled in. You want to support yourself from below. Knees are unlocked. And that might feel pretty good. You might consider swishing and swaying a bit side to side. And then with knees bent, belly pulled in, you're going to come all the way up to standing. Add, reset. We'll do the other side. So have that belt handy. Drape it over that left shoulder. Left arm's going to cross on top. Again, modifying, just pulling that elbow across. Or double crossing, maybe catching hold of fingers, or using that belt to help span the gap. Whatever modification or variation you've chosen, you want to keep that front ribs and belly pulled in, knees unlocked, hinge over, and your elbows will move away from your chest. You'll get a little bit more stretch between those shoulder blades. Knees are bent, belly pulled in to help support your back as you swish and sway. And then knees bent, belly pulled in, and release and come all the way on up to standing. And let's get a stretch across the front of the chest. And take that belt around your back, almost as if you were putting on like a belt. And then hold on to it with your thumbs pointing out to the sides, palms forward. So holding on to that belt, start about hip width apart. So you'll see from the back here, palms are towards my butt, thumbs hitchhiking out to the sides, holding onto that belt. And straighten your arms. Knuckles curl down towards the floor. Feel those shoulder blades pinching together. Squeeze those shoulder blades together and feel that shirt stretch tight across your chest. With a good grip on that belt, keep your elbows unlocked. You're going to engage like you're trying to rip the belt apart. You're not going to go very far. So try ripping the belt apart. Feel that stretch across your chest. Knees unlocked, belly pulled in. Now you can stay here, taking nice deep chesty breaths. Or if that worked for you before, bending over will make it more intense. Knees unlocked, belly comes to rest on your thighs. As you hinge over, keep your knuckles curled towards your hips. Keep pulling on that belt. You're trying to rip it. That action of gripping the belt tightly and trying to tear it apart hopefully, theoretically, will keep your elbows from hyperextending, from locking out. So elbows are slightly bent as you come into this forward fold. And then hands come to your hips, and we're going to come all the way back up to standing. Bringing your hands closer together will make this more intense. Shoulders hinging together. Arms are straight, knuckles curled towards your hips, but elbows unlocked, straight and unlocked at the same time. Knuckles curled towards your hips, elbows slightly bent. Big upright breath, big chesty breath. And then again, you have that option to take your feet apart, bend your knees, and hinge over. The closer together you bring your hands, the closer your hands will stay to your hips. Don't be surprised if your arms don't go as far this second time around. And you relax your toes. Let your knees bend enough that your belly rests on, or better yet, between your thighs. And then hands to the hips. Come all the way back on up. Now we're going to drop that belt and fan your fingers. Roll out that wrist. So that was a bit of gripping. Now we're going to make nice with those wrists. Starting to loosen up the shoulders, getting some blood flow into those shoulders, neck, arms. And we're going to really start to release these hands all the way from the neck to the fingers if we can. Big flared fingers, big wrist circles. Now imagine you were at some sort of temple, or maybe even in your own home, burning incense of some sort, trying to waft that incense up towards your face. Just rolling your wrists. And then when you've had enough of that, plenty of incense, you're going to push it away. Turn and roll the wrists the other way. And let's bring hands together, palms together, thumbs towards your chest, shoulders down away from your ears, and bring your wrists down level with your elbows. Try pushing the pinky finger sides of your hands together. And breathe. And unwind. You're going to put the backs of your hands together. Put the backs of your thumbs together. Shoulders down away from your ears. Again, trying to slide those hands down level with your elbows. Wrists and elbows on the same level if you can get them there. Backs of your thumbs together. And breathing. Knees unlocked, toes are spread. And release. Big inhale out. And exhale down. Palms are forward. Great big shoulder shrug up. Back and down. All right. Fingers are flared, spread wide. And take that right hand to the opposite shoulder. Knees unlocked. Fingers are spread wide. You're going to sweep that arm back. Follow it with your gaze as far back around as it's willing to go. Fingers are spread wide. And then reset. I'm going to turn around and show you from the back. So we're going the same direction. So this right hand comes across to that left shoulder. Knees unlocked. You're going to sweep that hand back. Fingers are flared. You're going to follow it with your gaze, and palm is flat. My palm there. Hitchhiking that thumb back behind you. And reset. Now we'll do the other side. Left hand to right shoulder. Sweep it back. Follow it with your gaze. And reset. Second time, second side, sweep it back. And now we'll alternate. So the cue is to follow whichever hand is sweeping back. So look at the hand that's coming back behind you. You're just alternating sides. You want to get a little bit more sophisticated, think about breathing. Ultimate challenge is to keep breathing with this one. So this is a nerve glide that you might do in physical therapy if you had carpal tunnel or impingement in the shoulder affecting your hands. So it's totally legit. If you feel this anywhere from your neck all the way down to your fingertips. But if you don't feel it, bonus for you, lucky you. Nothing wrong with you if you're not feeling anything. Do want to caution against feeling it in your knees. So if your knees are feeling this, unlock those knees, maybe unstick your heels. And you may notice now that we've done a few repetitions here that you're actually rotating a little bit further. So yeah, this is a standing twist too. And then you're going to come to center and clasp your hands together behind your back. Give a good shoulder shrug up, back, and down. Skid your thumbs down your tailbone and feel that stretch across your chest. If you're not quite able to bring your hands together, then you can once again hold on to that belt. Knees unlocked, hands clasped together. Hinging forward for the third time, coming into this forward fold. Toes are spread, knees are bent. Breathing. And then hands to your hips, bend your knees, come all the way back on up to standing. All right. You're going to make fists, nice tight fists. So a moment ago, we were flaring the fingers. Now we're making fists, nice tight fists. Shoulder shrug up, back, and down. One fist you're going to flip forward. The other fist you're going to flip backwards. So one fist forward, one fist backwards. Turn your head to one side. And then flip your wrists the opposite way as you turn your head to the other side. So as you turn your head side to side, you're going to flip your wrists. Tick-tocking, flipping wrists side to side. Curl tight, curl hard. So really flip wrists hard one way, then flip wrists hard the other. And as you're doing this, you may notice that every time you look right, maybe that right hand is flipped forward or backwards, whatever it's doing. Just make a mental note of whatever it's doing every time you turn your head to the right. Make a mental note of whatever your right hand is doing. You turn your head to the right. Knees unlocked, toes spread. Try to turn your head as hard to the right and as hard to the left as your head's willing to go. Now, the next time you turn your head hard to the right, pause. Without moving your head, flip your wrists once. And now with your head to the right, your wrist is doing the opposite of what it was doing before. And then resume, tick-tocking, flipping each time you turn your head. And now if that worked out correctly, next time you turn your head right, that right wrist is doing the opposite of what it was doing a few moments ago. If none of this makes sense, just breathe. You'll be fine. And turn your head hard, flip those wrists hard. You might feel this in the wrist, you might feel this in the neck, you might feel this anywhere between your neck and your wrist. But if you don't feel it, there's nothing wrong with that either. And then come to center. Oh, and shake that out. Palms forward, great big shoulder shrug up. Back and down. Oh. What are we going to do next? I don't know. Show me that I don't know move. Palms are flat. You're going to press out like you're between two walls that are suddenly closing in on you. Palms are flat, fingers pointing down towards the ground. Locking those arms out like you're trying to keep the walls from closing in on you. And then a reset. I don't know. Push it out. and pull it in. And push it out. And pull it in one more time. Push it out. Stay out. Go ahead, drop that right hand. Now just this left arm is extended. Left palm flat against imaginary wall, fingertips pulling down towards the floor. Your fingers are spread. Palm is flared. Head falls away from that extended arm. Oh, wiggle your jaw. Nod, yes. I can feel that neck. I can feel that wrist stretch. Head hanging off to the right. Head is nodding yes as you're pressing that left palm flat against that imaginary wall. And then chin rolls to the middle of your chest as you reset. Take a moment to drop those arms, let the blood flow back in. Palms forward, shoulders shrug up, back and down. What are we going to do next? We're going to do the other side. Press out, palms flat against an imaginary wall. Now you get to drop that left arm. Head falls over to the left. Remember the right hand, the fingers are flared wide. Fingertips down towards the ground, palm flat against that imaginary wall. And if that all made sense, with your head hanging off to the left, you're going to nod yes. Yes, you can feel that wrist stretch. Yes, you can feel that neck stretch. And then finally nod your chin to the middle of your chest. Roll your head around to center and drop your arms. How about we step our feet nice and wide and do something with the lower body? So take your feet nice and wide. Do make sure both feet are on the same surface. You're going to turn all 10 toes to the right. Pivot, turn all 10 toes to the right. And if you look down at your feet, you can line up heel to heel if you're new, heel to arch if you're not so new, on an imaginary line down the middle of your mat. Let that right knee bend, put that right elbow in your lap, and let that left arm hang. Toes are spread, feet are flat, letting that left arm dangle. Now keep pulling in your front ribs, pulling in your belly so your knuckles aren't dragging on the ground. But feel that left shoulder blade peeling away from your spine. Front ribs and belly pulled in. You feel that stretch. It's that that left shoulder blade peels away from your spine. That arm dangling, circling around and around and around. You're breathing. Reverse the direction on that circle, circle around the other way. And with this arm dangling, find a block. Put a block underneath your left hand and begin to pull the legs straight. Both hands sliding down towards the floor. If you have 2 blocks available to you, great. You can put 1 block underneath each hand. So you're bowing over the right leg, feeling that stretch in your lower back. Now do keep your front ribs and belly pulled in. You're going to pick up the back heel, that would be your left heel, pivot on the ball of that left foot, and start to drop the pocket change out of that left hip pocket down towards the ground. Now you picked up that back heel. You can take that back foot, hop it a little bit wider. We can continue to drop the pocket change out of that left hip pocket. Continue to straighten your legs any amount at all. Front ribs and belly are pulled in. The more you pull in your tummy, tuck your tail, the more likely you are to get both legs straight. Starting to press that back heel down towards the floor. So we're heading towards a beginner's version of pyramid pose. Eventually, perhaps you're straightening both legs. Eventually, perhaps you're getting that back heel down. Now, you are cheating yourself out of the stretch if your stance is too short and that back heel just slams to the floor. You're cheating yourself out of some stretch. Do make sure you have a nice wide stride between your feet and a good length between your feet as well, so that that back heel has to reach for the ground. And it might not touch down, but you'll get a calf stretch along with a hamstring stretch. I'm just talking to leave you here a little bit longer. Keep you breathing here. as you go for that lovely hip, lower back, and leg stretch. Soften that right knee, pick up that back heel, turn it in and down. And let's put that right elbow back up on your lap. Back to where we were just a moment ago. Both feet solid, flat down on the ground. Heel to heel if you're new, heel to arch if you're not so new. And this left arm dangling. We're going to let this left arm tick-tock forward and backward, like a pendulum on a grandfather clock. We'll begin to synchronize breath with movement. So as you inhale, stretch and reach. And as you exhale, drop. Inhale, stretch and reach. Exhale, drop. You can use that elbow on your lap to help pry your chest open. A little bit more length, a little bit more stretch. And reach. Inhale, stretching, lengthening. And then finally, with a great big inhale, come all the way on up. And we'll turn our feet to go the other direction. Now you might want to make sure those blocks are easily accessible because we're going to do that whole thing on the other side. I'll have those blocks nearby. Turn all 10 toes to the left. Nice wide stride between your feet if you can get it. Ideally, maybe ankles underneath wrists. Heel to heel or heel to arch. You do you. Left elbow on your lap. Right arm dangling. Circling around and around. The toes are spread, feet are solid, planted on the ground. And you're feeling that right shoulder blade peeling away from your spine. Front ribs and belly pulled in. You want to support this from below. Pelvic floor pulled in and up as well. And then reverse the direction on that circle. Again, if your knuckles are dragging, you're slouching. Pull in that front rib, pull in your belly. Tuck your tail, tuck your chin. Even round your back a little bit. Feel some internal support. So that while that right shoulder blade is peeling away from your spine, the spine is lifting up towards the ceiling so that your knuckles don't drag. All right, find your block. One or two of them. Plant some blocks underneath your hands. One hand on either side of that left foot. You're going to pick up that right heel, pivot on the ball of the right foot, even hop that right foot a little bit wider. You do want both feet on the same surface. So you do want both feet on the same sticky mat. Begin to pull your legs straight. Now the trick to getting that back heel down and the trick to straightening both legs is to keep your front ribs and belly pulled in. So I've got my blocks on high. It's not about touching the floor. It's about pulling in and up so that you can anchor that back heel down. It's not about touching the floor at all with your hands. So I'm on that high level of brick. Working to straighten both legs. Pressing that back heel down towards the ground. Again, you're pivoting on the ball of the back foot to drop the pocket change out of that right hip pocket. Going for a spread across the back of your hips. And then picking up that back heel, swinging that back heel in and down. Both feet flat to the floor. Once again, left elbow on your lap. Right arm dangling. This time it's going to tick-tock. Pendulum, grandfather clock, forward and backward. And slowing it down, synchronizing breath with movement. Inhaling, reaching, stretching. And exhale, drop. Inhale, stretch and reach, maybe push into that bottom elbow. And drop. And then finally, with a big inhale, come all the way on up to center. All right, reset your feet. Again, have those blocks nearby. Toes turn in, heels kick out. Nice wide stride between your feet. Knees are going to be soft. Hands come to your hips. Toes are in, heels are out. Going to hinge over, bottoms up, coming into a forward fold. Hands come down to the ground or onto blocks, whatever you have there. Hands are touching something. Toes are in, heels are out, knees are unlocked. With your hands touch something, melt your chest down towards the ground. Maybe you can work your elbows down onto blocks, or maybe you can put your elbows all the way down onto the floor. You do not want your head on the ground. This is not a headstand. Toes are in, heels are kicking out. You're coming into a nice deep forward fold, feeling a stretch on the back of both legs at the same time now. Your toes in, your heels out. Think about spreading your heels wider. Now they're on a sticky mat. Don't actually let them go anywhere, but press your heels wide like you're trying to rip that yoga mat between your feet. And as you press your heels wide, you might feel your sit bones, your butt, stick out and spread out a little bit more. As you press your heels wide, can you pick up your pinky toes? Flare those little piggies. Little piggies are up, heels are pressing out. If you're feeling good about this and you want another shoulder stretch, you can bring your hands behind your back, clasp your hands together, interlacing your fingers, and once again, press those knuckles up towards the ceiling. Now, the top of your head is down towards the floor, but your shoulders are moving away from your ears. So the back and the sides of your neck are long. You turn your head side to side, it's like you're unscrewing a light bulb or screwing your unicorn horn into the floor. You can look at one foot and then turn your head to look at the other foot. And then to get even more sophisticated with this, a little bit more complicated with this, look right, but let your knuckles, arms drop left. And then you can look left and let your knuckles drop right. So you put a little twist in your torso. Top of your head is still down towards the floor. And you can look one way and drop your knuckles the opposite. And then look the other way and drop your knuckles the opposite. All the while with your head hanging towards the ground. Kind of a metronome, perhaps, with your arms and your head, tick-tocking side to side. Now, this does require a little bit of balance, and it does work better if your knees are unlocked and your toes are spread. And then you get to come to center. Hands come to your hips. Hands come all the way down to the floor or blocks, what have you there. And begin to straighten up your arms. Bringing your chest away from the ground, your back level, like a tabletop. Toes are in, heels are out. Knees unlocked. Pull in your front ribs, pull in your belly, make a flat table. No sway back. Come up onto fingertips, or maybe even up onto blocks here, so that your back is very flat. Right. I'm going to turn sideways quickly, just so that you can see I'm supporting myself from below. No saggy middles. Now, bring that right hand directly beneath your nose, your fingertips on a block or on the floor directly beneath your nose. Locate that left hand, and with an inhale, sweep your left arm up and open. I'm still showing you here that my front ribs and belly are pulled in. I am not swaying my back. Knees unlocked. Maybe even the tail tucked slightly. Big twist. And let's switch sides. Left hand replaces right. And with an inhale, sweep that right arm up and open. And we're going to alternate sides a few times. I like to inhale, open. And exhale, switch, inhale, open. And exhale, switch. Moving at your own pace, keeping your knees unlocked, your front ribs and belly pulled in, tick-tocking and twisting. And then you get to come to center. Bend your knees, hands come to your lap, pulling your front ribs, pulling your belly, roll all the way on up to standing. and have a quick look. In a moment, you will be here in a forward fold again. In a moment, you're going to be rotating open. You're going to take that top hand, back of your hand, around the small of your back. So you'll be here in just a moment. I want you to see my palm is facing out on this twist. Okay, so feet nice and wide. Blocks nearby if you need them. Toes in, heels out, knees unlocked. Forward fold. Again, front ribs and belly are pulled in. You're up on fingertips. It's not about touching the ground. It's by lifting up. Locate that right hand with an inhale, sweep it up and open. Take the back of your hand around the small of your back. You can even tuck your fingertips into your waistband. Hike that right shoulder around your back a little bit more. Go for a big twist. Now, where is your head? Your head is an extension of your spine. So look at the side wall. Head is level with your back. Don't let it fall off. And then you get to unwind and switch sides. Inhale, sweep that left arm up and open. Back of your hand around the small of your back, maybe tuck it into your waistband. Hike that left shoulder around your back a little bit more, and then fix your head. Level with your spine. And unwind, coming to center. Park one block by each foot. Bend your knees, round your back, roll all the way on up to standing, and you get to step your feet together for a moment. Those blocks got away from you, go ahead, put them in place, one on either end of the mat. Feet nice and wide. All 10 toes turning to the right. Blocks are there. Arms come up and overhead. Hooking your thumbs together, let those hips tick-tock side to side. Coming back to kind of where we started class, letting those hips tick-tock side to side. All 10 toes are turned to the right. So you'll notice that that left hip kicks out really well. The right hip, not so much. So let that left hip kick out. If it's not kicking out, make sure those toes are turned, all 10 toes turned. And then tip on over into your triangle pose. Now, bottom hand can rest on a block or on your shin. You want to make sure the knee stays unlocked. Very little to no weight at all on that shin if you have your hand on the shin. Top hand in the air, high-fiving an imaginary friend. Pull in your front ribs, pull in your belly. So you're pulling in the midsection to help you lift weight off of this right leg. You don't want to be collapsing onto it. Not about touching the floor. It's about getting up off the floor. Lightening up, enlightening up. Belly, pelvic floor flying up into your body. High-fiving that imaginary friend and maybe turning your head to look up at that top hand. Take this top hand, turn it so the palm is facing behind you. Slide the back of your hand around the small of your back. Maybe even tuck your fingertips into your waistband. Hiking that top shoulder onto your back, turning your chest open a little bit more. Again, your head is an extension of your spine, in line with the rest of your spine. Unwind, inhale, come all the way on up. And let's switch sides, turn all 10 toes to the left. Arms come up and overhead. Hook your thumbs together. Tick-tock those hips side to side. Gonna kick that right hip out. Left knee stays unlocked. Tip over into that triangle pose. Again, hand is light on the shin, work on the block. Front ribs, belly, pelvic floor lift in and up. High-fiving that imaginary friend. You're between two panes of glass. You're very flat. Just because you can snap the arm off behind you doesn't mean that's good for your shoulder. Bring that hand forward, in plane, or maybe even ahead of your body a little bit. You want this rotation to happen from your core, not from you dragging the arm around. So let's take the top hand out of the equation. Let's take the top palm back behind you, back of your hand around the small of your back, and try to rotate your spine. Hike that top shoulder around your back, rotate from your middle. Left knee is unlocked, left shoulder shrugging away from your ear. Head is an extension of your spine, so don't let it fall off. Now you get to unwind. And with an inhale, come all the way on up. Turn all 10 toes in. All 10 toes turn in, knees unlocked. And again, you get to hinge forward, forward fold. Hands coming down to the ground or onto blocks. Nice deep forward fold. Now, it is the moment you've all been waiting for. You were wondering if we would ever get to this next pose, and here it is. You're going to step back into a downward facing dog, and do make sure both hands and both feet are on the same surface. Both hands, both feet on the sticky mat, or both hands, both feet off the sticky mat. If you only have one set of paws on that mat, it will slide. The toes in. Sorry. You can take your heels out, your feet as wide apart as the mat, but do keep your feet on the mat. Fingers spread wide. You can even turn your fingers out to the sides a little bit to help you wrap the outer rim of your armpit around towards your face. And here you are in downward facing dog. You're going to take your dog for a jog. You're going to bend one knee, then the other. You're going to dance and prance and swish and sway and pull your hips out of your shoulders and feel this lovely down dog. Now, modifications. If you have hand issues and down dog isn't working for you, well, then you can come to hands and knees, taking some of the weight off your hands, and stretch one leg back, then the other. If that's still not working for your hands, well, then you can put your elbows on blocks. I got my blocks on medium. Elbows on blocks, pretty much put your shoulders the same height as they would be if your arms were completely straight. And you can modify your quadruped with elbows on blocks. So you've got options here. Option number one is that downward facing dog, and you're stretching back through one heel, then the other, swishing and swaying. Or you're down on all fours. Please now, everybody, come on down to the ground. I do recommend some padding underneath your knees. And we'll continue. With toes curled under, you get that added foot stretch. All 10 toes curled under. Exhale, arch your back into cat pose. Come up onto fingertips so you're not collapsing into your wrists. And then inhale, head up, tail up, come into that sway back cow. Exhale, arch your back for cat. And inhale for cow. Moving back and forth through cat and cow. The next time you exhale into that cat pose, hold the pose, but not your breath. Stay in this cat pose and breathe. Up on fingertips, pull in your front ribs, pull in your belly, pull in that pelvic floor. Locate your right hand, and with an inhale, sweep that right arm up and open. Follow it with your gaze. And then as you exhale, release. Same side, same arm. Inhale, sweep that right arm up, up, and away. Coming up onto fingertips here. Lots of clearance between you and the floor. And exhale, release. Third time's the charm. Big inhale, up and open. And then slide that right arm through, putting that right shoulder blade on the ground. If that's your right shoulder on the floor, swing your right ear, that's your bottom ear, closer to the right shoulder. Left hand is a kickstand. Left shoulder shrugs away from your face so that you can breathe. Find your knees. You can play around with shifting weight from one knee to the other. Your hips kind of wag side to side. And if it works for you, top shoulder shrugged off your face so you can breathe. Top hand is a kickstand. Shift your weight to that right knee and stretch that left leg straight back behind you. Toes curled under, kicking hard through that left heel. Now, pulling in your front ribs, pulling in your belly. Pulling in that pelvic floor, securing your midsection, you have the option to extend, float that left leg up into the air. If you're feeling good about it, you can give me a thumbs up. And come into what I call shooting star. Pull in your front ribs, pull in your belly, breathe. The more you pull in your front ribs, pull in that pelvic floor, the more you breathe, less likely you are to fall over. But again, the more you pull in your front ribs, pull in your belly, the more your lower back is rounded. And should you fall over, it's not that bad. And then from here, you're going to slowly come on down. And we'll do the same thing on the other side. So you might want to orient yourself the other way so you can see the screen second time around. Hands and knees. Toes curled under for that added foot stretch. Up on fingertips so you're not aggravating your wrists. Inhale, head up, tail up into that sway back cow. Exhale, pull in your front ribs, pull in your belly. Coming into that cat pose. Taking the other arm, perhaps it's your left. Inhale, sweep up and open. And exhale. Two more, just like that. Big inhale, up and open. And third time, inhale, up, up, and away. And then sliding that arm through, getting as much shoulder blade on the ground as you can. Now your right and left might be different than mine. That's fine. Top shoulder shrugs away from your face. Bottom shoulder shoves through as far as it will go. Bottom ear swings closer to bottom shoulder. Keep breathing. Notice your knees and start shifting weight from knee to knee, from hip to hip. And observe what that does for the hips and lower back. So you're kind of wagging your tail side to side. And this is where having a pad underneath your knees is nice. That floor can be hard. So if that is your left shoulder on the ground, you're going to shift your weight to the left knee. So whatever shoulder you have on the ground, you're going to shift your weight to the same knee. Stretch the other leg straight back. Getting the leg super straight, pushing back through the heel. Shoulders are shrugged off your face so that you can breathe. And then you can take that straight leg and lift it up. You can play around with giving me a thumbs up and balancing and breathing. Again, the more you pull in that pelvic floor, pull in your front ribs, pull in your tail, the safer it is should you happen to fall over. You're less likely to hurt yourself. Falling over does happen. And then coming out of that shooting star, whichever way works best for you, you get to roll over and lie on your back. Like you planned that all along. So just play it off, roll over, lie on your back. So you just got a nice good stretch spread between the shoulder blades. We're going to put the shoulder blades together. So have that pillow handy, but do move it out of the way for now. You don't want anything underneath your head for this next move. You're going to come up into a bridge pose, and you don't want to aggravate your neck. So nothing underneath your head. It's even better if your head was in a hole. So if you had padding, cushioning, you could put underneath your shoulders and let your head hang off the cushioning. That's even nicer and safer for your neck. If you have a belt, you can use the belt. The belt, if you have it, goes underneath your butt, like you're going to put it on, like a belt, goes underneath your hips, low, like you've got ultra low rise jeans. You want that belt like down the bottom half of your butt, low. Hitchhiking your thumbs out to the sides, palms are shining up towards the ceiling. The belt will go across the palms of your hands. You're going to start with your hands about hip width apart on the belt, thumbs hitchhiking out to the sides. Feet stay flat on the ground, toes are turned in, knees lean together. Practice like you're wearing a skirt. Reserve your modesty. Don't let everything all hang out. Toes in. Feet stay flat on the ground. Your toes can inch away from your hips. You don't want to aggravate your knees. Begin with an inhale. And as you exhale, pull into your pelvic floor. Do a little pelvic thrust tilt. Gather that pelvic floor into your body. And then pushing your feet into the floor, peel your hips up away from the ground. Holding onto the belt, you can start working your elbows and shoulders and hands closer to one another. And bring your hands closer together on that belt. Pinky fingers end up perhaps eventually side by side underneath your body. Thumbs hitchhiking out to the side, pinky fingers side by side if you can go there. Feet on the floor, pushing your hips high into the sky. I'm talking, that means you're breathing. Feeling that stretch across your chest and some pressure at the tops of your shoulders. Now there are acupressure points there at the tops of your shoulders, right where that racer back bra strap is, right where the backpack straps hit you. Acupressure points there that will help drain excess tension out of the shoulders, neck, and jaw. But to have a very calming effect on the body. Nice deep breaths if you can get them. And then elbows, hands separate, shoulders move out of the way as you roll back down. Knees bent, feet flat. Take your feet as wide apart as the mat and let your knees tick-tock side to side like windshield wipers. We're going to repeat that bridge pose in a moment, but take a moment now to make nice. Tick-tock those knees side to side. If your lower back was talking to you, you probably have your heels too close to your butt. If your lower back was talking to you, you want to consider keeping your belly pulled in, that pelvic floor pulled in, even when you're lifting your hips high into the sky. It's that pelvic thrust tilt rather than letting your belly bulge out. So it's a pelvic thrust tilt. You want to shorten your abs even in that back bend. Eventually, you want that pubic bone to become the highest point on your body, not the ribs. So that pelvic thrust is what you're trying to cultivate in your bridge pose. If the bridge pose gave you a headache, you're probably holding your breath, clenching your teeth, tightening your jaw, doing something to restrict blood flow. And then as soon as you came down and relaxed, you got a head rush and a headache. And if your knees didn't like it, again, your heels are too close to your butt. All right, we're going to repeat. So once again, belt goes underneath your butt, below the belt line, low underneath your hips. Palms turn up. Belt's going to go across the palms of your hands. Feet stay flat, toes are turned in, knees are leaning together. You don't want everything all hanging out. Begin with an inhale, and as you exhale, work on that pelvic thrust. Pull in the pelvic floor. Peel your hips up away from the ground and begin to work your elbows and shoulders closer together underneath your body. You're doing this correctly if your chest is sliding onto your face. You might even tip your chin up slightly so there's a natural curve in the back of your neck. And breathe. Feet flat, toes spread. And then you get to come on down. You might have enjoyed how you got a little bit higher up the second time. Well, the third and the fourth time are even better. But you got to come down from that second time so you can get to the third and then eventually the fourth time. All right, one or two more times at your leisure. Working that pose. You got a good grip on that belt. You want to engage like you're trying to rip that belt apart, like we did at the very beginning of class. Get a good grip on the belt and then try tearing the belt apart, and that will help you get those shoulders narrower, close together underneath your body. So keep working that belt, pushing your feet hard into the floor, scooping in that pelvic floor, pulling in your front ribs, thrusting your hips up, breathing. And finally, you get to come on down and you have the option of doing that one more time. If you've had enough, just tick-tock those knees. So you do you. The third, the fourth time are usually your best. But if your back has had enough, you've had enough. All right. One more time if you got it in you. Otherwise, you're just tick-tocking those knees side to side, making nice. If you are up this fourth and final time, again, you got a good grip on the belt. I do recommend pushing your elbows down into the ground. Maybe that means your hands lift away from the floor a little bit. That's okay. Elbows bent is better than having those elbows hyperextend. Elbows down, thumbs out. And you get to come on down. Shoulders wide. And when you've come down for a landing, then you can put that pillow in place underneath your head. Again, take a few moments here with feet as wide apart as the mat, letting those knees tick-tock side to side like windshield wipers. Coming to neutral, toes turn in, knees lean together, feet are as wide apart as the mat. Widen your shoulders apart. Run your hands up through the back of your neck, up through your hair. Pile your hair up onto the top of your head so the back of your neck is long. You turn your head side to side, shaking your head no. Letting your shoulders move away from your ears. The sides and the back of your neck are long. Arms release out to your sides, palms turned up. Take a nice deep breath. And as you exhale, let your front ribs melt down into your back ribs. Let your back ribs spread across the floor. Feel the weight of your thighs spreading into your lower back. And you can take your hands and widen out your hips and spread your butt out. Feel that lower back waistband sinking down into the ground. Let your toes spread and melt down into the support of the earth.